Barnaby Jones will return next Thursday night at 10, 9 Central and Mountain on most of these stations.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
I remember when The Dark Knight Returns came out. I remember when Watchmen came out. So, of course, I remember when Kingdom Come came out.
Kingdom Come is 4 separate issues, 48 pages apiece. It was an all-immersive kind of lifestyle for me.
It blew people away. I mean, this was the most sought-after book there was.
This was something very new, very different.
No one had seen anything like that at that scale before.
It was amazing.
I never thought from anything that people would still be talking about this book 25 years later.
How we doing, everybody? Welcome back. It's Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Happy to welcome my buddy from the Emerald Isle, Declan Shalvey. Good to see you, Declan.
Hey, man, how's it going? Your favorite, right?
Yeah. Well, among me, like I don't know, you and Mooney. I don't know. You guys have to do a knife fight between each other and see. But I've known you longer, so I suppose that you are my favorite. You're absolutely right about that. How is everybody, man? What's that?
Yeah, I just wanted one over Mooney, basically.
I respect that. That's all right.
Yeah, everyone seems to be doing great.
Yeah.
Will's got his TV shows, and Nick's working on Transformers cartoon, and Nate Stockman's like writing and drawing his own strip for Marvel. Like everyone's flying it. Really, it's great.
I talked to Owen McCauley at the end of the week, and he was giving me an update on all the Irish creators. Hey, man, congrats to all of you! My God, I'm so glad that everyone's doing well and, doing their share of American books and American projects as well as Irish projects. That's awesome, man.
We're all punching above our weight.
That's good. That's all right.
It's
good Lord.
We're all hanging there.
Speaking of which, I don't know if you saw it. Man, big upset yesterday in boxing. Anthony Joshua on his ass. 5th round knockout.
Totally ignorant of any of that story, man. I have the clue.
I was sharing the clone cyclone himself from Ireland. Barry McGuigan was saying, yeah, AJ should retire. And I'm like, yeah.
Barry McGuigan, I'd remember because I would have grown up with him boxing. Like, that would have been a big deal at the time. Like,
he was one of my favorites, absolutely, in the 80s, man. So, all right, enough Irish talk. Let's talk comics. Congrats, man. I guess Terminator is flying off the shelves.
Yeah, I mean, I find this out like everybody else. Yeah, it looks like the can you hear me okay, by the way? I forgot to ask.
You sound great, buddy. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because I just realized I've had this fancy microphone for 2 years, and I only found out just the other day I've been using it wrong. So, I saw Bleeding Cool. Looks like the numbers are great, which is great. I had no idea. I knew it wouldn't do Thundercats numbers, so that was it. It's like, well, I take a job that I know won't sell as well as the last one, which might make me look bad. But it's a totally other book. It's a totally other audience. So I wasn't really sure what to expect. So yeah, it's like 61,000 or something for issue 1. So
wonderful.
It's all right. I'll take it. Like any good sales numbers is always good to hear these days. No matter what it is. Especially if I'm doing it.
Well, we'll get to Thundercats because you're right, and shame on me, man. I forgot. In fact, you were trying to show me the preview of Terminator 1, and I noticed that Beck and say, "Oh yeah, Deck's doing Thundercats." See, that's our generational difference, Deck. That's where I think the 10+ years difference in our ages like comes through, and it's like, oh yeah, all right. Because again, as I always like to say, I was trying to date when Thundercats was on, so I wasn't as big.
Yeah. Well, they're both from the 80s. It's just when you hit them in the 80s, like
right.
What was it? What year was Terminator out? 80.
85 or no earlier, maybe no.
I think it was 85 actually. Yeah.
Was it okay? Yeah. I was gonna say I think it was college. I think I was college in there, which again showing my age. Good Lord. But dude, I'm thrilled, and I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't really paid attention over the years to a lot of Terminator stuff. That's, by the way, that's Deck's cover, everybody. And it's great. And are these what's the plan on this? Are these done in one? Will they be connected stories? Because it looked like it was a nice done in one for the first issue.
It is, yeah. So I'll ruin it for everybody right now. It has nothing to do with John Connor. It has nothing to do with stopping Judgment. Like just all the stuff that's been done in all the movies. No, none of that. So
Good.
it's a much more restrained, grounded kind of take on the property. Slightly out of necessity because the licenses are actually only for the first film, so we actually can't do anything.
Okay.
With all the other stuff. But
all right.
I was happy with that. At first, I thought, oh no, I can't do X, Y, and Z. But then I realized actually this is much better because then I can't. I like limitations. It forces me to make a decision. And so me and Nate Cosby were talking about what to do with the book, and he was very cool with it being kind of a more because I rewatched the first film and it's really like a moody, tense thriller with a robot at the end.
Yes.
And again, out of necessity, they could only do so much, with special effects at the time, and they used them brilliantly. But as a result, the film itself is like the scary man coming to murder a woman for some reason, and she has to and he can't be stopped. That's a scary idea. So, and it's a very dark, it's like all heavy shadows, and it looks like a noir comic. So I'm like, if I can do that, then I think we could do something really cool. So I think the first issue is very much a kind of this is what the book is. So if you've read it now, that's what pretty much every issue is going to be like.
That's great, man. You know what it reminds me of is when Marvel was doing the Planet of the Apes black and white magazine, and it was like, all right, they adapted the movies, but then also they had backup features that Doug Much would write. And they were, okay, this is what also is happening in other areas beyond Ape City of Planet of the Apes. So it's got that kind of feel to it. It felt like that to me in terms of good. I mean, I'm glad. And like you said, the limitations makes you think harder. And I think, again, I think it provides some great stories. A couple of weeks ago, I talked to Sal Crivelli, who's doing the backup as well. And I know he's really excited to do it. I'm glad to see you on it, Deck. By the way, Greg Gorman chimes in from Facebook and says, great to see Deck on the comic. Came a long way from Asylum Basement. Top artist. Top writer as well, man. I think you're proving
thanks,
it.
Man. That's I used to work I used to have a studio underneath a comic shop in Aberdeen in Scotland. Yes, that was, as much as I said, I was, I might work in a hovel sometimes. I was literally in a comics basement for a long time. Hey, Craig, it's past. But no, as regards Sal's story, that works quite nicely because what his story will also be for hopping around as much as we are. He's also doing something elsewhere, so kind of fits in with the book nicely. But it's also kind of I know you're a big Star Trek head. I liked the episodic stories. But I also liked there'll be some stories that were bigger than one episode. So issue 2 and 3 is actually a 2-part Vietnam story. And I'm planning another 2-part story, just, bigger stories, slightly more because I also, there's a lot of writing for arcs at the moment, which happens. And I have no problem with that personally, but not all books. So I wanted to do something that was, especially with, having done something with Time for Time and Old Dog, kind of pulpy, stories that can be satisfying in and of themselves, with the benefit of a murder robot, felt like the right way to go with this.
Plus, as you mentioned, the next 2 and 3 are going to be set in Vietnam. So I love that you're time jumping as well. And I think, again, that's something. And I will confess, Deck, I have not watched Beyond 3 is kind of where they lost me after that. I didn't see the one with Christopher Batman.
Bale. I like that one, actually.
I didn't see Genesis. Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything beyond either, just because, just to be honest, I lost interest in where it was going. I did just watch the anime that was on Netflix. It came out 3 weeks ago.
Tell me about that. Please.
Really good. Apparently, I've been trying not to, digest too much Terminator stuff or any really, because I'm just trying do what I'm doing, but
Sure,
I couldn't really resist. Like I really like the writer, and I'm not an anime guy by any means, but it looked interesting, and yeah, it did some stuff that like I'm definitely playing with. They did it. They have much longer narrative, so we're able to do different things. But some cool different things, and some like it felt like it was more based on the first film, similarly to what we're doing, but going way somewhere else. And yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was really, really good, even though I'm not like an anime guy by any means. So it also kind of gave me more confidence as regards what we're doing, because I'm like, yeah, they're doing something different, and that's good. So it made me feel like, yeah, I'm glad that we're doing something different too.
That's great. Now, as you say, you're kind of stuck in the confines of the first movie. So, yeah,
well,
beyond
you'd think they're confines, but what's what got me is once you kind of go back to the original, it can really go anywhere. That's what was interesting about it, because I'm of the age where the first Terminator film I ever saw was Terminator 2. So that was already the sequel. So the sequel for me was like what Terminator was. So why would I go back and watch the crappy looking first one, right? Then you're older, and then you get more sense, and you go back and you watch it, and you're like it's hard to watch the first one outside of the context of the second one when the second one's the only one you've ever seen. So once I did go back and watch the first, years ago I watched the first one, I quite liked it. Well, I went back recently, I'm like, actually, there's a way. It's not destined to go this way. There's so much of the things you could do with it, and that's where I find there's more interesting stuff than say the stuff that the way you're expected to go, because that's how it goes. Take that off the table, then all of a sudden there's way more opportunities there.
Is it possible? Again, I don't want you to spoil, but might we see beyond the robots themselves coming to the present or the past? Might we see humans as well following some of these robots?
It's possible. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. There you go.
Like, I think the fun thing is, see, if you're just getting to do one story, you're going to want to pack everything in. Like when I did Alien at Marvel, of course there was going to be synths somewhere. It's part of what that franchise is. It's just where do you put it? And that was different because that was a much kind of broader narrative. With the Terminator, it's more like done in ones. But there is I think what I'm trying to do is find good opportunities to use those things rather than just putting them in there for the sake of it, So I'm enjoying that.
That's great, man. And God, I'm really thrilled to see you go back to Vietnam and a much more solid state technology versus the microchips of today. God, I don't want you to spoil, but might we see them go further back in time?
Yes. I would say I can tell you issue 4 will be set during the will be set on a Soviet submarine.
Fun. Oh, that's great, man.
Yeah. I'm drawing the cover right now, actually. And yeah,
cool.
It's fun, So I'm like I I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like a history buff necessarily, but I do find kind of like I'm just getting to the age where I'm finding like the history of war quite interesting. So I'm getting to kind of play around with some of that stuff. It is more difficult because you have to do proper research. Thundercats, there's a level of research, but like basically, I can do whatever I want. Something like Vietnam and all that. Like I actually I wrote myself into a real hole when I had the idea. I'm like, great, I'll do that, and then I realized it was a big like historical problem. I'm like, oh crap, I've got to figure this out now. But look, that's the fun of writing too, I guess.
Sure, absolutely. Man, have you ever, as you get into war stuff, have you ever talked to Garth Ennis about his love of war and everything?
No, with Garth, I'm always trying to play it cool, Also, I don't want to sound like an idiot about anything. I love his war comics. Like that is the kind of fun thing with this. I'm getting to write a war comic. Not that it's all about war. Don't get me wrong. There's I would put it this way. There's different parts of like his important historical moments in humanity's story that Skynet is targeting. So that means I can hop around to places I've never really gotten to do before. It's cool. Like again, that's been born out of the original limitations. So I'm actually having a lot of fun with that.
And I would imagine, too, that this is an opportunity to maybe splice other genres into a Terminator story. So yeah, I would have. I mean, again, I mean, I won't.
I think it's the benefit of episodic rather than like if you're going to do a big film, you're going to do a big franchise thing, but like with something that's more episodic, you can play around with those. Here's an issue that's silent or something like that, things like that. You can't do that for a whole miniseries, but you can do it for an issue where one isn't directly related to the other. Try have fun with the format, really.
While we are talking about Dynamite Comics, we may as well mention Thundercats. Are you coming back? Is there a new arc coming up? Or a new story?
Yeah, it's going strong. It hasn't stopped. I'm currently I just did the cover for issue 12. I literally just scanned it before I hopped on here, and that's like ongoing. So originally that was going to be 12 to 15 issues, and now it's going to be at least twice that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's turned into this weird thing where it would be cool to do like some architect-y stuff at Marvel. So I liked writing Alien and stuff. And now accidentally I've fallen into this whole like not only is Thundercats going way long, like it's turned into an ongoing. And it's hard to get ongoings at Marvel these days even. So one, that's great. I'm getting to write something that doesn't need to wrap up in 6 issues. That's brilliant. But not only that, like it's kind of like an open secret. We're expanding the line. There's going to be more books. There's already Chitara came out. That miniseries is out at the moment.
Okay.
Sue Lee is writing that with Dominica. I can't remember her second name. It's going to annoy me now. But that's out at the moment. It looks beautiful. So when that wraps up, I'd say any day now. I'd say maybe this week definitely. There'll be a big announcement about a new book. I'm not writing it, but like I'm involved behind the scenes of like running it, which is cool because it's like you're getting to take out all the old Thundercats toys and play with them, lend them to your friend and then he can lend them back and make sure they're not broken. So like that wasn't in the plan for 2024, to be honest, man. Like I just thought I'd be doing Mystique and my Old Dog anthology. That was the plan. But Josie, with comics, like you just don't know what's going to come up. So here I am accidentally writing an ongoing book that didn't exist a year ago, with like all these other kind of like spin-offy things. So it's mental. It's insane. But the book has done crazy well. Like I think I've heard numbers recently. I'm like, geez, that's what like Thundercats was doing back when I was on it. It's crazy.
That's terrific, man. That's wonderful. Are they older? Is it within that same period of the cartoon? Again, you'll forgive me, but I'm kind of I'm a foreigner when it comes to the Thundercat mythology. I know I know the Lionel Chitara, for example.
Yeah, because Chitara's hot. That's why you know who Chitara is. Yeah,
always looking up some Chitara.
Yeah,
dirty
pictures. Yeah. Look, when you're a kid and you see that's puberty really kicks in. So it's basically a reboot. It's a soft reboot that is it takes the original cartoon and basically just kind of like, I don't want to sound like a cliche, but like it has a modern spin. It's just a slightly updated version. Like it's I would say it's 75% the original cartoon with 25% kind of like twists to like not like they're not all wearing like I don't know, uniforms the whole time. It's very, you can tell from the costume design, it's pretty much the original, just with little tweaks here and there. And that was, I was hoping that would signpost what we were doing with the story, in that if you remember Thundercats, you'll know everything. It just isn't going to be the same thing. So if somebody was coming expecting this storyline or that storyline, then no, you're out of luck, because I'm not interested in regurgitating what came before, but I wanted to like take what it was and just let old readers rediscover it and let new readers discover it, because people younger than me would know what Thundercats was but didn't necessarily actually watch it. So it's happened to me at some conventions. People have come up and said like, I kind of knew what it was, but I just thought I'd read the comic, which is great because that means you're getting a whole new audience.
100%. I know that a lot of comics these days too, especially at the big two, are made with toys in mind. Very toyetic. I love that word, toyetic. And
I've never heard it, but I like it.
Oh, really? Because yeah, I mean, it seems like like for instance, in fact, I was talking to somebody online about Absolute Batman, and they're like, "I don't get it. Why are they doing this?" I'm like, "To make new toys," because you look at what I want to say. Is it Darrington? It's Dragata, right? Dragata, I think, is doing the new design, and it's like, okay, he's got I mean, it's big beefy Batman right now, and that crazy giant emblem and stuff, and I'm like, all right, there's a new toy. Are any of the designs? Did you? Up when you say 75% more, is it more in story or design? And if it is design, are there things that you've done that is it Hasbro? I don't even know who owns the IP.
Warner Brothers.
It is Warner. Okay, there you go.
And I have to say they've been great. They basically don't tell anyone, John, but they're letting us do anything. Like it's. Well, like,
I was wondering.
To your question, like none of that has been said to me, but I didn't do. Okay. I didn't design the characters. It was kind of offered to me if I wanted to, but I was too busy. But also, I kind of feel like if Drew Moss, the artist on the book, is drawing the book, if he's the one that's going to have to draw them all the time, maybe he should be the one who designs them, And so,
sure.
So he redesigned all the characters again, tweaks here and there. But we also created the character for issue 2, and everyone was telling me like that is such a good idea. Like, there's a whole new character that you created. Like, that's so smart. And I was like, because like I just wanted, I needed another character to do stuff that I couldn't do with the other ones. Basically,
tell me about the new character. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, she's her name's Calica, and she's absolutely based on my cat. There's no secret there, but essentially she's discovered in a mutant ship as a prisoner, and the Thundercats take her in, and then there's kind of like, who is she? What are her motivations? You want to read the book to find out more, but effectively, yeah, like Drew designed her, and so that, and the sales on issue 2 were crazy because, again, I didn't think about it. Like, speculators wanted to have the first appearance of, like, again, I should really write this stuff down. How to sell comics. Point 1. I just seem to accidentally do it, but now we've actually we've created a new character that's appearing in the next issue next week, actually. So I should be better track of this. His name's Apex, and he's kind of like a hooded Thunderian character, but we don't know who he really is. So he's going to debut in the next issue, and again, that's the cool thing about this book is it's not about what happened in the cartoon. We're getting to do our own stuff. So now, and I did design him. So if something happens toy-wise, that'd be great. But I remember when I was writing and drawing a story for the Turtles Black, White, and Green anthology, and a friend of mine said, because I was doing this thing where I was really drawing a lot of scales on the Turtles, and my friend said, like, "Oh wow, that'll make a great toy." I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." But he was like, I'm serious, like, they might make toys of that. I'm like, no, they won't. And he's like, yeah, they made toys of these other, I forget, it's not just cartoons now, they make toys of the comics now. So it could totally happen, Jesus, actually, John, I only found out 2 weeks ago, I did a variant cover for Moon Knight, which was like a mashup between Moon Knight and Spider-Man, and they've made a toy of it. I just found out it's part of some special Marvel Unlimited package, but it's just a variant cover. They made a toy of it, like it's insane. So, which is I think I'll count it. I think it's the 6th thing of mine that's been made into a toy. Which, if you told me one thing would happen, I wouldn't have believed you. It's mad.
That's great, Deck.
What's the word you said? Toyetic. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe me, man. I only discovered this word like a couple of years ago as well, and it's like, oh no, I get it. And why not? That's the thing. And I understand we love the comics and we love the stories and we love the art. Of course we love the art. The art's what entices us to buy the comic. But it's like the real money's in the licensing, and toys are part of that. And yeah, I've become, ever since learning the phrase, it's like, I know what they're doing. And whether it's an event.
It makes sense. Like, I'm not in charge of any of this stuff, but if I was a licensor, Thundercats, I would say, was kind of I wouldn't say dead isn't the right phrase, but like a dormant franchise. Nothing had really happened in a while. There was like a kind of a cartoon that didn't seem to go down too well a few years ago. But I think what we've done with this series is Because there was a version in 2010 that was very different. You know, it was kind of like Lord of the Ringsy looking, which I think actually looks great, but it didn't succeed. So what we've managed to do is like again update it a bit, but like there's enough of the original material there. So if you are a whore for nostalgia, it's there for you, you know. And I guess it does bring interest back into the property. Like these are not problems or questions for me. I'm just a guy who writes comics. If something happens with it, I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm just trying to make a good comic and like make something fun and and engaging to read. But if I was in charge, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense to get people, you know, like sure, look how they've done the same with Turtles for years. Why not?
Yes.
If you're sitting on a property like that, why not? Why wouldn't you?
You know, a couple months ago, I talked to Josh Blaylock and how he brought back G.I. Joe with Devil Stew, his company. And again, you know, the explosion of reinvigorating the Joe franchise because of it. And, you know, it's funny, Deck, I saw that Thundercats cartoon from a couple years ago. Mike Jelenic, I know, was the animation showrunner who also did Batman Brave and Bold. And a good friend of mine who's younger than me is like, hey, man, I'm telling you, this is really, really good. I know you don't know the property as well as you know other stuff, but this is really entertaining. And I like that series. And I think you're absolutely right. I think Thundercats could be another one of those 80s throwbacks that is kind of primed for a revival in the right hand. I mean, God, look at what they've been doing with X-Men 97 and the ridiculous animation.
Again, I'm no expert with this stuff, but I mean, I guess it makes sense to take like something that has. I mean, look, they do it all the time. You take something with an inbuilt audience, and give it a fresh lick of paint. You know, whereas like it's very hard to sell new ideas, but you can sell an old idea because it's already been successful. So, I mean, you know, it just makes sense.
I hear you, man. I hear the Infiltrator, obviously a Terminator fan. He says, "I'm a friend of Sarah Connor. I was told that she could, I could see her here, please." Happy nearly 40 years. Yeah, man. Yeah, it is, man. That's right. 40th anniversary coming on. Jesus.
Yeah,
I am blown away. Dude, so much of that stuff, it's like, I am old. Oh my God. I do remember when that stuff was brand new and now it's 40 years. I mean, Batman 89 having its 35th anniversary. It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's all hit me like, because I think it was Thundercats' 30th anniversary when we brought out the book. I was like, 30 bloody. No, even more. No, I just, yeah, no. It's with the stuff from your actual childhood. Just reminds you how old you are. It's and everything is like that now. You know, even stuff that like, you know, isn't that old. As having 20-year anniversaries, you're like,
Oh my God, yes, yeah. I forget what. Oh God, it's some either a TV show or a movie, and I'm like, oh, Lost. The TV show Lost is 20 years old. I'm like, okay.
Are you kidding me?
But it's great, and
God.
truly, it's smart because, as you said, there's the new audience and there's the old audience as well. That you know, hey man, we all get to be middle age of people that love toys and love our cartoons and love our movies and all that stuff.
All you younger
man.
people, it's coming for you too.
Don't worry. Exactly. The water's fine. Jump in the pool. It's okay.
I do think, I mean, this is just a theory of mine, but I think maybe one of the reasons why Thundercats did well is that I think there is a readership out there that have stopped reading comics because they don't like a lot of what has come out or done with various properties that they like. Whereas Thundercats is a clean slate for a lot of them that like, because it hasn't been like, you know, messed with or whatever in the last few years, they can kind of come to a clean with a very close version to the thing that they remember, you know. Like, I hate to break it to you, but I watched a lot of the original series. It doesn't hold up. It doesn't really hold up, you know, but what's in your mind is much better, you know. So what I'm trying to do is deliver what's in your mind, you know, that's how good you have it. But I do think there's probably an element of, I expect it's predominantly older fans who loved the original who are coming back more so than the new audience. But I would, you know, I think you always want to get a new audience because these properties will die out. Like, you know, you do need to have fresh blood for sure. So, but that's been my goal is to thread that needle, you know.
Indeed. No, in fact, I always kind of admonish Street and Smith and whoever, Condé Nast, the rights holders to Doc Savage and the Shadow and some of those pulp characters. And it's like, you guys sit on that way too long. And when you do decide to come out with something new, anybody that's younger than 50 is like, what? And you don't tap in, and it's like, hey, you're too precious with your intellectual properties. You better keep that stuff alive, or else people aren't going to give a goddamn when you do finally get off your ass and give somebody a license to do something new with it. I don't know. We got a few comments from other people. Wolf and Bear says greetings from County Wexford, and Infiltrator says he's sending love from or she, I'm not sure, sending love from London, UK. It catches up with all of us in the end, indeed. So that's all true. Absolutely, man. Well, we briefly mentioned Marvel, and you've got a new Marvel book. Does it come out next week?
No, that's out October. It's the week after Terminator issue 1. So I have 2 brand new issue 1 out in the same month, which is silly. But it's October 16th, I think. Yeah, just before New York.
Oh, very cool.
So on top of all that, I have writing and drawing my own X-Men book. So that's nice.
It's really nice, and I love this. It's a spy story, and you're writing and drawing it, which is great. And so again, Deck, I'm kind of, I hate to confess, I'm always kind of a little X-Men, like I'm behind the curve, and Krakoa has been destroyed. So are the X-Men like what? Tell us what Mystique is doing without spoiling what's happening right now.
So essentially, with From the Ashes, the new status quo of the X-Men basically is they're back on the mainland, I guess. And to Tom Brevoort's credit, he's kind of built a really broad line of different types of books. So depending, I think there's something there for everybody. Is basically the approach. There's something there for me with this book is essentially Mystique is back in the world. And Nick Fury is asking, where is she? Why don't we know where she is? It's like, we're not keeping track of Osama bin Laden. Like one of the most famous terrorists, mutant terrorists, is just out in the world and nobody's keeping track. So he decides he needs to keep tabs on her, and it backfires on him because she realizes that she's being looked at. She's going to take issue with that. So it's kind of a Nick Fury hunting down Mystique book, but while he's trying to do that, she has her own agenda that she's building towards. So it's a 5-issue miniseries. Very it's all in the kind of Marvel. Interestingly, it's not just in the X world. It's kind of a broader Marvel world too, because it's Shield hunting her down.
Sure,
but Shield has also been kind of demoted to a kind of a more close to a CIA type branch rather than having all the huge resources it has before. So Nick's working with less and expected to do more. So there's a frustrated office job, Nick Fury, trying to wake people up, and then there's Mystique doing crazy effed up stuff, and very much her being a villain. My thing with Marvel, I was saying from the start, is I want her to be a villain again. She's not she's been an anti-hero. She's been a hero.
Yes.
But we need more villains. She's one of the best villains. Let's put her back in that side of things. So that's my goal with the book. So, she's not very nice, and does a lot of very not nice things.
Well, and that's great because literally, I think I heard a San Diego panel with Christopher Priest, and he was talking about what he did with U.S. Agent John Walker. And he said, initially he and Brevoort are like, okay, fine, he's a villain, and kind of got pushed back from Disney, we kind of want him to be an anti-hero because we got Thunderbolts coming up and blah, blah, blah. And of course, Falcon and Winter Soldier at the time was coming out, and John was a big part of that. That's good to hear that, right now, at least, that especially for this miniseries, that you're letting her be a villain. And further, as you say, so now she's on the mainland again. And I read the postscript. You were kind enough to send me the first issue, and I read the postscript that you wrote. And there are a ton of cameos or supporting roles for other X-Men in that first issue. And, of course, the S.H.I.E.L.D. representation is very vast. I was very happy to see not only Nick Fury Jr., but also a nice conversation with dear old dad, who's my Nick Fury, and I love Nick Senior. But I love them both. I think they're great.
Who would have thought an Irishman would write a story about daddy issues? Yeah.
It's true. Junior is really trying to prove himself to his father, and it's great. And again, it's a really good, like, hey man, don't it reminded me of Samuel L. Jackson's Shaft movie when Richard Roundtree shows up, and it's like, hey, I need backup, and Roundtree's like, me back up you. Although in this case, it is Senior that is letting Junior know that Mystique is out there and is a serious issue. But I'm assuming then, based on what you just said, that we're going to see other Marvel villains or heroes through these 5 issues.
Yeah, I have it a fairly handy, probably in a better position than anybody else doing the X-Men books, because if you want to use Omega Red, then like he's an issue 1 of Sentinel, so I can't use him. Things like that, you've to ask for like the character you love, you always wanted to work with one, and then be told, no, sorry, they're in X Factor or on they're the villain. You just, because you don't know what everybody else is planning. I made a point of like, I'm gonna Nick Fury Jr. Like, that's not everyone's gonna be asking for him. Maverick is in the first issue. Like, not every look. I know to kind of. But like for me, Maverick, like X-Men issue, was it 5 or 6 with Jim Lee? Like, that's I'm getting to use one of my favorite guys, but he's just not everybody else's favorite guy. So there's a level of that, but really there's not that many actual cameos in the book. But because Mystique, if she needs to like kick a door down, she can turn into, the Thing. You know what I mean? Like, so I have, right. I think that's the difference between if I was writing this book alone, I might be a bit more grounded with it. But because I'm drawing it, I have an excuse. Like, there's a scene in issue 3 where she has to kind of chase somebody on the side. And I'm like, she could be Beast, So it's Beast doing that page, So that's kind of the fun of it, is that I can just draw the characters without having to run it up the flagpole. It doesn't matter if they're dead or alive or in another book. It's just Mystique, so she can be anybody. And I think I was worried for a good while doing the book because Brian K. Vaughan did a run on Mystique as a spy again. Like, it's basically the same concept. I don't know if I told you this or I might mention this before, but I met Brian K. Vaughan in New York last year, and he said, "Oh, what are you working on?" And I said, "Ripping you off," because it's the exact same book. But what was I going to do? How am I going to do better than Brian K. Vaughan? Answer: I'm not, but I'll do something different. So that's Once I realized the benefit of being a cartoonist on the book rather than a writer or an artist, I think I found my edge.
Deck, truly, I loved what you did with the Punisher, and I was very pissed off that some of that was halted mid-story back during COVID. But you know your Marvel characters, and more importantly too, your spy stuff. And good opportunity then to transition into Old Dog Operations, which is not only yourself, but also look at that list of other collaborators that are telling Old Dog stories.
Yeah,
I love
right, isn't it?
Yeah, you did good, man. No, you picked some great people to help you out on this. I love Old Dog. I'm a sucker for. This is why I love Red, the Vertigo thing or Wildstorm. I think it was Wildstorm.
It was Wildstorm, yeah.
Yeah. And I loved, as I've told you before, when I first saw Old Dog, I thought of Robert Kirkman's character that he kind of abandoned, Britt, who was kind of an older man, super soldier and stuff. And it's great to see. So, is Old Dog Operations currently out?
It's out next week as well. Everything's out. Everything's out next week, John.
Marvelous.
The next issue of Thundercats is out. The Moon Knight. I created a Moon Knight story, a new Moon Knight character for this Phases of the Moon Knight anthologies book. That was so cool. Old Dog and Operations is out. I think Time Before Time Volume 6 is out, and 2 different covers. So I've like 6 things out in one day. I have a deadline that day, so like I don't know how I'm going to be like promoting this stuff online. There's too much of it. But yeah, sorry. So the anthology was Well, the anthology for me was, like I said, I hadn't planned on Thundercats happening. What my plan for this year was work on Mystique, and while I'm working on Mystique, put out, at least put something of Old Dog out, because Old Dog came out like September the previous year, the trade at least. If you're good enough to like take a stab on Old Dog and like, support it, I don't want to keep you hanging for years for the next installment. So I thought what I could do is, get a whole bunch of artists and writers who I know and like. I'll do a short story, and at least I'll get some Old Dog material out at the same time. And I also slightly cynically thought, well, if I'm doing a spy Marvel book, probably no harm to have a spy. I mean, I already have the book, but like do something that's kind of newer rather than, it's hard to sell a book that came out last year. And also I love anthologies, and I love I love working with other people, and I get asked to do short stories on other people's stuff, which is fun. But like, I'm like, if I could just pick anybody I wanted, who would I ask? And I asked them, and not everybody could do it, but in the end, I have this great mix of like amazing creators doing my, like, Leonardo Romero wrote and drew an Old Dog story, and it's so cool. And yeah, it's savage. It's savage to see this type of stuff. So yeah, that was my plan for the year. Was, I knew I'd be doing Mystique, and that would take up most of my year, but I could do a short story, and I could get other people to come on board and just do a one shot. I knew it wasn't going to set the world on fire or anything, but to make a one shot, one was an advantage. Two, put out more Old Dog off the back of Mystique. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
That's great, man. I was just looking at the mast of some of your other collaborators on this Old Dog anthology, and you got Charles Soule. I'm only going to name some of these people, man. You feel free to, Triana Farrell and Chris Sprouse and John McCrae and Mike Spicer and all these great, Gavin Guidry and everything, and Mateus Bergara. I mean, really cool people, and putting their spin on Old Dog. I think it's great. I think it's smart that you're doing this. And
well, again, I don't know about smart. It was a lot of work, and it was on top of everything else I'm doing. Like, I thought, an anthology, that'll be easy because I just need to do 8 pages. Done. But no, like, not that everybody was a problem, but like, you're trying to like make sure everyone's getting. And also, like, I didn't just have to do a story. I wrote a story for Mateus Bergara. Like, how cool is that? Who else is getting to do that? Like, just Cy Spurrier, basically. So that was amazing. Did I write another? Yeah, I wrote a story for Luke Sparrow, who we're doing we're doing Terminator together. That's actually how I found him for Terminator. Like, that was cool. I colored the Chris Sprouse story, so getting to kind of basically not only do my story, but like roll the sleeves up and play around with everybody else's stuff. Like John McCrae inked PJ Holden for the story, and that's fun too. It's like, so not only you don't really get to do that much on work for hire stuff, is to kind of play around, and I did get to play around. It was very tough, and I'm not in a, like, I'm already thinking, if I did another one, who would I ask? But also I'm like, leave it alone, Declan. Take a break. Maybe not set yourself on fire for another year. But it's just, look, it's comics, man. It's fun. You get to do this stuff, especially when you have your own platform, like what Old Dog is. Like, it's my thing. I can pick whoever I want, whenever I want. It's fun. So that's kind of, it's just basically, I wanted to have fun and see other people see what they would do too. Like Rory, who wrote Time Before Time with me. Yes, he wrote a story, and so working with people who I knew were good, people who like didn't have a massive platform, and then others who do, like someone like Charles did not need to write a story for me at all, but he wrote a really cool, he did exactly what I was looking for, a cool spy story. Leonardo Romero is working animation now. He doesn't need to do this. Everybody's doing stuff. They didn't have to say yes, but they did. So I'm just so happy with it. I haven't gotten my comps yet, but I'm told they look really nice. So I'm a bit mad now.
How many pages is the anthology?
It's 64.
Cool.
So proper, there you go. It's not a series. It's just a one shot.
Yeah.
So and it also was an experiment to see how that square bound format would do. because I love the I love the old Dark Horse, Batman versus Predator books. They'd be that prestige format, and then they'd be collected as a book, and I think that's what I'm going to do with Old Dog next. Is instead of doing them as 20-page single issues, I'm going to do them as maybe like 40-page prestige format. So like I said, doing the anthology, there was all those reasons for, and another reason on top of that was how will that format sell, and it seems to be selling okay. So that I think it makes it more. It'll be more like when I'm doing Old Dog, instead of doing like an episode of TV, it's more like I'm doing a TV movie. Like it won't come out all the time, but when it comes out, it's a big enough event that I can promote in a whole new way. Like promoting issue 2. No one cares. Promoting issue 3, no one cares. But if there's a brand new, novella, I think for me, I think it's a better way to bring that book out. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it'll work, but it seems more sustainable than a monthly book, which I just can't. I need to take 2 years off to do a monthly book for 8 months. You know what I mean?
I do.
So it just feels like if I can do that and then do something like Mystique and then do another Bulldog, like that way every year I'm bringing out like a little novella that I can collect them as trades, as the years go by.
That sounds great, man. What's the price point for the anthology?
The anthology is $7.99.
Okay.
I know I'd go cheaper with the 40-pager, but I think it's it is $7.99, but it's 64 pages. So
yeah.
And also the trade's only 10. So like if you're getting a deal on the trade anyway, so like this should be a nice way to like take a sampler with plenty of people who you will know. Like everyone knows who Charles Soule is, and Chris Sprouse. And I remember at the time thinking this will be a nice gig for Gavin Guidry. This will help him break out a bit. But in the meantime, he's just like been kicking ass. So if anything, he's doing me a favor. I thought I might be doing him a favor, but no, he's doing me a favor.
So tell me about your Moon Knight story that's coming up in the anthology.
Oh yeah, keeping track of all this is impossible.
I know, man. You're juggling a lot of balls. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So Devin Lewis at Marvel came to me asking about doing what was originally pitched as a short story. So I was like, yeah, that sounds fun, but it wasn't 5 pages; it was 15. So it's more like a one shot, really.
Sure.
But yeah, it's an anthology series called Phases of the Moon Knight. So there's 2 15-page stories per issue. So it's a nice chunk of story. And it's basically introducing what I would describe as the last Moon Knight. It's a whole new character where the Earth is basically starting to fall apart and the Moon is starting to leave the orbit.
Oh, wow.
So what happens with the lunar god when that's happening? So I got they asked me to design the character, and they brought in an artist, Eder Messias, who I didn't know anything about beforehand, but bloody hell, he's really, really good. So yeah, that's just a fun thing. Like it's so cool. I get to be in a place where I'm not asked to draw a thing. I'm asked to like come up with something and draw as much of it as I want. So, Thundercats, I'm doing the covers and writing it. So, I literally just drew a cover. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to write this. So I have the story and I've drawn it to a degree, and then I can write it. And
great.
Same with Terminator, Now, somebody else does all the back-breaking work, which is fine by me. I think I've broken my back enough at this stage. But I also have a project like Mystique where I do get to put all that kind of artistic energy into too. So I'm in an amazing place where the stuff that's coming to me is like, hey, what do you want to do with this? And and it wasn't like, hey, do you want to draw Mr. Knight again, which happens here and there, and I just don't really want to do, like, we did it was great, and I'll do a cover or whatever, but I don't, the reason that was so good is because it was something different. So 100%. I like this thing me to look for. They weren't coming to me to just kind of play the hits again. It was to do something different, and I really tried to kind of be a bit more ambitious with it. So yeah, I would say it's like a street level cosmic story, with some lovely artwork. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. Like, and it's so weird because I'd be screaming from the rooftops about it, except I've everything else to scream about too. So I'm losing my voice.
I understand. That's funny, especially at the moon possibly leaving the orbit. Very space 1999 of you.
I know what that is, but I've never actually seen it. Was that the Jerry Anderson?
That was the Jerry Anderson live action show with Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. Absolutely.
I was all in on Thunderbirds.
Sure.
I just realized that's another franchise with a thunder at the beginning I could do. Anyway.
It's funny. I here in the States, there's a new streaming channel, MeTV Tunes, and they've collected all these great old kids shows. And really late at night, they do like Stingray, Thunderbirds. I'm not sure. I would imagine Supercar might be part of it. All the Jerry Anderson or many
Captain Scarlet too.
Yeah, I don't know if they're doing Captain Scarlet. I don't have the channel, unfortunately. I'd be all over it if I had the channel because I do love. They fascinate the hell out of me. When I was a little kid, I would see the Thunderbirds show in Stingray. They were in syndication here in the States when I was a kid, and it's great. I turned my little nephews onto it when they were little kids, and they loved it because it was puppets, but the models for all the vehicles, both or all three, land, air, and sea. I mean, they're really impressive, and also just the locales. I mean, I'm fascinated by Jerry Anderson and what he did.
You used to be able to get back when I was a kid, if you got enough kind of like tokens on the back of cereal boxes, you could send in and get prizes, and one of those was the Thunderbirds, and I got them all. I got 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think 3 was my favorite. The red rocket one. I think that was 3.
Sure.
Was it 2? No, it was 2.
Okay.
No, sorry, it wasn't. No. One was the rocket. 2 was the 3 was the kind of hover. What the fuck? It's gonna drive me mad now. So anyway, yes, I loved all those. I had all these like proper die-cast models of the. So I loved all that stuff as a kid. Yeah.
And Jerry Anderson obviously then goes on and finally, because I guess that was his ambition, was with all these puppet shows that he had done for like 20 years. Please let me do a live action show. And finally, Lou Grade at ITV was like, all right. And Space 1999. I mean, it was only 2 seasons. It was a great concept, and it's hit and miss. It's very 70s sci-fi. And there's nothing wrong with as someone who grew up during 70s sci-fi, it really looks like
Pardon? They were police. Were they policemen in it?
No. What happened was we were putting all our nuclear waste on the moon, and there was a chain reaction accident that flung the moon out of its orbit, and it is hurtling through space. And the people that were on the moon base are trapped there, and they're just trying to find a new planet to colonize or whatever.
There was he did do a series before he died. I remember being on Sky One. It was like space. It was Space Cops basically. They were like actually
Space Precinct, I believe, was what it was called.
That was it. Yeah. That was a Jerry Anderson thing as well, wasn't it?
It was indeed, absolutely. Okay. And it was a combination of puppets and live action. So
it always ends up being a deep cut with you, John. There's always some hardcore old school thing that pops up.
Yeah, I can't help it, Deck. I mean, again, I love this old stuff, and I'm really glad that there are so many streamers out there that need content. So it's like, hey, let's play that old thing that had a cult following and stuff. And I'm like, great, and I learn. I mean,
also mad stuff that would never get approved now. Like just 100%. Crazy weird stuff. People's like, no one's gonna pay for that, but like it already exists, so just put it on.
Mark Altman made this fantastic miniseries about 1982, and that it was like one of the great geek years when it comes to movies and television and stuff. And man, you think of like some of those movies that came out. There were these throwaway movies that obviously didn't catch on, and God, now I'm even starting to like blank on some of them. But it is amazing, like you said, that they were just somebody managed to like, hey, the heavy metal cartoon did good. Let's make another sci-fi animated movie. Okay, it's going to tank, but it's out there. You can find it. I mean, there's just crazy stuff like that. I love it. No, I absolutely love it. Speaking of animation and our favorite subject, Star Trek, has Prodigy made it to Irish streaming yet?
It has now. I think it's on. It's not on Paramount. It's
Netflix?
On one of them now. Yeah, finally. I think it is Netflix. I haven't had a chance. I haven't had a chance to watch. Basically, Terminator is the only thing I've watched. But no, I mean, I've heard really good things. I still haven't seen Stranger Worlds. I was thinking of making this joke or something about Mystique, where I was, the cameos. I remember when Picard came out, I was like, look, He's an old guy. He's not going to be able to do it all. You need new characters. Don't give me pandering bloody fan service, all right? And then they put those first 2 seasons, I hated them. And then season 3, by then it was like, give me all the cameos.
Amen, son.
Where's Jordy?
Yes, yes. My
Oh
God.
my God.
I mean, yeah. I honestly, Dick, I don't get me wrong. I'm sure these people will make the rounds when they want to the various Star Trek conventions. But somebody brought up Rios from the first 2 seasons of Picard, and it's like, is anyone going to give a shit about this guy 10 years from now, 20? And maybe they will. Maybe the younger fans will. I mean, again, I mean, we certainly loving the old stuff and everything. It's like, I liked Lieutenant Riley, who only made like 3 episodes of the original series, or somebody like that. Or I'm thrilled that in Strange New Worlds they decided to use Dr. Mabenga, which again, hell, in syndication, those are the first scenes that are snipped out of the original series, and he was there. He was part of the original cast, and I mean, he was a side character and only in a couple episodes. But it's like, no, so maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, it's no, I absolutely wanted the home cooking. Prodigy, I'm telling you, Dick, when you have time, it's incredible. It really is.
No, I've heard nothing but good. I haven't heard a single bad thing about it. It's I've nothing against it or not lack of interest. Just time. Well, actually, I might start watching it during lunch actually, because they're like 20-minute episodes.
Yeah, they are. It's great.
I'm nearly finished the Batman cartoon, so I'll probably
think
that on after some.
Cape Crusader.
I was a little cold on it at first actually. I felt it was a weird thing where it was like updating characters, yet being so heavily based on the old Bruce Timm aesthetic. Yes, I found that a little bit kind of broke my brain a little bit. But the more episodes I watched, the more I got into it. I haven't finished it yet, but like some of them are kind of cool ideas, and it does get a bit dark. And I wanted to like it, and at first I was like, I don't know, but no, it's really, really cool. I like it a lot.
Well, and I, much like Prodigy, I'm taking my time with both because it's nice to have something to watch. And my God, Prodigy, those are like 20 episode seasons because it was made for Nickelodeon.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, brilliant!
So there's a ton of Prodigy to get up on, and the first.
That's great.
The first half of the first 10, you're learning about the characters and stuff. But way to go, Julie and Shauna Benson. They were co-writers on a 2-parter, and it's like, okay, now it's Star Trek. Now I'm enjoying this. This is great.
Okay.
And
is it done now? Because it was cancelled, but is it coming back, or did I hear?
Well, it's weird because I just heard them on a couple panels, the showrunners, and I think we might get a season 3 on Netflix, which would be great. Mm-hmm. And I think perhaps Paramount, Paramount is obviously in a bit of a shifting world because the ownership is about to change hands from the Sumner family, and now it's going to be the guys who run Sky Dance, not Skyward. Okay. Or no, they're Skyward. Skydance is Kirkman, or no, whichever one is not Kirkman.
Skybound is Kirkman.
All right, then Skyward is they've been the financiers of a lot of big Paramount movies, like all the Kelvin Universe movies and the Mission Impossible movies.
That's Skydance, isn't it? I know that because Mission Impossible is all Skydance. Yeah.
Okay, so Skydance is taking over Paramount, and it's going to take a while, and they're kind of in the start of the transition.
I hadn't heard that at all. I had no idea.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, these companies kind of, I think, made a lot of bad investments and also were relying on credit, and then COVID happened and everything changed. I mean, my God, it's a real challenge, I think, these days, making a movie and getting a movie that people want to see in the theater, as opposed to, I'll wait for streaming. I don't have to see right away.
That happens. Like I haven't seen, and I won't probably at this stage see Deadpool Wolverine or the new Alien film. I'll probably just wait at this stage. Even though I really do feel like those are films you should see in the cinema. But I just haven't had a chance. But we are in a weird place where everything is just kind of getting eaten up and changed hands, and there's no real institutions anymore except for Disney, which isn't really an institution anymore. It's more like a, bordering on a state, like
Yes.
a country in its own. And if there's less, you do need like different places. You need competition in order to have room to go. If every creative endeavor is sucked up by one place, and not something as Disney or anything like that, just gives you less room to like how do you get a film out there? How do you push it out there? Unless it's going through the same model as like an Avengers film is just impossible. And there's cool things like A24 and stuff like that I see popping up.
Yes,
kind of companies
Blumhouse,
like
A24. Yes, indeed.
I've a Mubi. It's like it's like a cinema streaming service. Things like that. There's definitely alternatives, but it just seems like when something does well, then it gets scooped up by a bigger company.
I saw Tarantino being interviewed by Bill Maher, and he made an interesting point. And he said, what's interesting about the Marvelization of cinema, and specifically Marvel movies, he's like, the characters are the movie stars now, not the actors.
Yeah, no,
and he's
I think
where like, again, in the old days, Tom Cruise, Risky Business. Oh my God, I want to see another Tom Cruise movie. He's great. And I love Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and everyone who's been, Simu Liu is a fantastic Shang-Chi, but I kind of understand what he's saying. And it's like, yeah, you do. You kind of want to get the next chapter of the character. And it's going to be interesting. About 15 years ago, I was talking to Jeff Loeb, and I was saying, what happens when Robert Downey is 60, my age, soon to be my age, and it's like, are we gonna want a 60-year-old Tony Stark? Are you gonna want to recast and have a younger actor? And he said, I don't know, but isn't that an interesting problem to have? And isn't that great for Marvel that they're in that position? And I get it, but yeah, it's like, and certainly we've seen in Phase 4 and Phase 5 the diminishing results as far as the reaction to some of the newer stuff where there is no Robert Downey, there is no Chris Evans. Hemsworth is, I don't even know if Hemsworth's going to make another Thor movie or not, or be in the next Avengers movie. It is interesting. And again, I think it's a problem.
Yeah, no, I think part of his argument, Tarantino's argument, if I remember right, was that there are no movie stars anymore. Like your Tom Cruises or whatnot. And, even say people like Chris Evans or whatnot are movie stars from those big projects, and like if I was an actor right now, I would do what Chris Evans does, which is do a huge Marvel movie and then make your kind of, he does a lot of smaller independent stuff too.
Absolutely.
I think good on those actors for it's what some of us do with our, will Terminator help sell Time Before Time? Who knows? It's worth a shot. But as regards cinema, yeah, there are no movie stars. Like there's famous actors, but not movie stars. And it isn't a weird. Like I love all the Marvel stuff, but like it's not really what I look to. If I want to watch something that's kind of going to get me raise my soul a bit or get me engaged with something, that they're not the films I go to. And I could do more of that than the genre stuff. Like I make so much genre stuff, I don't really want to watch a lot of it. Like I definitely want to see those two movies, the Alien and a Deadpool one. But I just saw what I watched the other day was Rebel Ridge on Netflix. It's like I don't know any of the actors except for Don Johnson, but man, it was so satisfying to just watch something. There's no franchise, there's no sequel, it's not an IP. It's just a badass cool movie. Like that got me more energized to make work than watching another sequel version of a thing that I already know really well from however long ago.
Last weekend, I saw Game Show on Netflix, and that's Awkwafina and Sandra Oh, and Will Ferrell is in it, and Jason Schwartzman's in it. And this is the kind of movie that easily would have been a summertime theater movie. And here's a fun comedy. I love Awkwafina. I mean, she is really, ever since Crazy Rich Asians, but everything she's in, I just think she's funny as hell. Sandra Oh is great. They're very funny together. And yeah, like you said, it's like, well, it's not a franchise. Everything doesn't need to be a franchise, but I guess to succeed in theater box office, it's either going to be a franchise or it's got to be a horror movie. I mean,
same as what we were saying before, is it's easier to sell something that you know. So if you've built a franchise, then you can keep selling the thing that people know rather than taking a chance on something new. And look, as much as I'm here going, I just want highbrow entertainment. I don't want this. I stick on something stupid and fun, no problem. It's just, I guess I just don't want that to be my only diet, really. And we're being fed more of one thing because it's easier. And to be fair to all the companies, it's what people go for, the easy thing as well. It's like, I know, I don't know, Chris Hemsworth on the cover. Yeah, cool. I know him. People go for what they know. I mean, we as much as we can complain about the companies, like the companies are delivering the stuff that people want. So it's an uphill struggle.
It is an uphill struggle. Although again, the good news is TV is the place where a lot of these people can go and even make more complex stories that are 8 parts or 10 parts. I just heard an interview with a showrunner on Peacock, and I think it's called Fight Night. And it's all about a real heist that happened in Atlanta when Muhammad Ali got his license back and was having his first pro fight after being in exile for 3 years. And there was this massive robbery, a big heist that happened. I had no idea, but it sounds great. Samuel L. Jackson is in it. Kevin Hart is in it. And it's 8 parts. And I mean, my God, it sounded real. I don't have Peacock. And I'm like, maybe I should get Peacock because that's kind of up my alley. I kind of want to see that. So yeah, it's strange because I mean I used to pick on, although she finally got the message, not from me, but just in terms of what's happening in society. Jodie Foster, I remember a few years ago. God, now it's probably been about 10 years ago. Was like, oh, it's a shame, movies. I want to make movies. I don't want to make TV. And it's like, yeah, but the more complex story is happening in TV. So get with the game. And thankfully she did. And she did that season of True Detective, and maybe she'll do more. Certainly Harrison Ford doesn't blink and is happy to do a good streaming show and has done several now. Helen Mirren. I mean, it's, again, so our movie stars are getting the message and are going where the more complex, I think, storytelling is happening. You know what I love? I don't know, again, Deck, do you get Tulsa King? The Stallone mob.
Actually, I just watched. We were talking about not wanting to blast through a series. I just saw the new episode of Tulsa King, and I was like, I was all comfortable. I'd had my dinner. I was like, great, now to watch the next one. And it was like, the next one's out next week. It's like, son of a. But I liked that. I liked that. I had to go, damn it, I want to watch the next one, and now I got to wait till Same with Slow Horses at the moment. I'm like,
yes,
I want to watch the next. But that's good. It's nice to have something to look forward to each week. Otherwise, I would just blast through the whole season and kind of half remember it. So I'm in favor of the not every show. Maybe some shows you just want to blast right through. But I know I'm loving Tulsa King. It's like no, I don't know anybody else who's seen it actually.
Oh man, and and it got former Sopranos writers making
Tim Minear, isn't it? No,
I don't know if Tim Minear's involved. I know Terrence Winter
Terrence Winter. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah,
and Taylor Sheridan. I know they're involved. Yeah. They were former Sopranos guys. By the way, I don't know if you have Max, but fantastic documentary about David Chase and the Sopranos on Max. That is just
I don't have Max, but I can keep an eye out for it.
But yeah, man, no, I'm with you. I've been saying the same thing. That listen, it was great when Netflix had the novelty of releasing a full season and dumping it out there, but you miss that, and now there is no such thing anymore. But that water cooler feeling of, oh, have you watched the latest Tulsa King? Oh yeah, well you got to get up, man. We got to wait, like you said, you got to wait a week. That's good because then the buzz of the show actually lasts longer than the first 2 weeks of, hey, look, Squid Game is out. And then 2 weeks later, nobody's talking about Squid Game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't see Squid Game. I didn't get a chance. I know I could just watch it now on Netflix, but it feels like the cultural moment has passed. So look, honestly, I'm just probably not going to bother my arse. I know there's a new season, but something else is going to pop up. But I remember when Better Call Saul was on, me and Rory would we were both writing Time for Time, but we'd be checking in with each other do you watch a new one yet? Which was great because for over a period of a couple of months or whatever, you're getting to sit with the episode, man, that was really good, and you analyze a little bit more, but you don't let your brain digest the thing you've just watched. It's the same with comedies. I try not to watch too much episodes of comedy because I forget the stuff that I laughed at. I just want to sit with it for a second and like then build up to the next one and find them enjoying things way. I mean, I'm annoyed. Like I was like, oh, for fuck's sake! And I thought, okay, next, because I think I did watch the first one in one go, but I did pace myself. I watched like 2, and then 2. I did that recently with something else too. I was like, that it was a nice way to do it because I got my my urge to watch the next one, but still spaced it out a little bit. This I've been watching Animal Kingdom.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, which nobody else I know. I don't know a single soul has seen that show either. But that's what I do. I'll watch 2, and then that's kept me going. That's kept me going for like a year.
I'm doing it with the current season, and actually I did it last year as well with Only Murders in the Building, the Martin Short, Steve Martin, Selena Gomez.
I'm behind
show.
on that, so that's good. Yeah,
I'm purposely one behind, so I've always got one to watch when I'm in the mood. And they come out every Tuesday. Okay, fine. And I don't know about your TV, but I know Tulsa King. I think the new episode is out tonight. So every Sunday is.
Oh shit! You're right. Oh, you're right. Yeah, great. I know what I'm doing later.
There you go, son. Absolutely, man. No, I'm with you, Deck. Honestly, man, as always, love talking to you. I eventually I will make it to Dublin Comic Con, and I know Owen is going to try to get. You out there as well, and probably...
I just do it. I just do it to get out of the house, man.
Okay, so, good. Yeah. But no, I want to see you face to face. I finally want to see Mooney face to face. I mean, we've only streamed. We've never met each other face to face like you and I have. Dude, you've come such a long way since me hearing from Jeff Parker on Agents of Atlas. Yeah, I got this guy Declan Shalvey. He's going to be good. And it's like, all right, cool. And then we got to know each other. And I'm happy as hell for you, man. I'm glad it's all working out.
I remember I was working away on, was it even 28 days later, and I was like listening to Word Balloon. Like that. It's how I got to know. It's how I got to know a lot of the creators were coming up at the time, like Rick Remender and stuff like that. Like that was a lifeline for me, man, because I wouldn't have known stuff otherwise. So yeah, that's why it's always great to be on with you, because yeah, I feel like I know we met years ago, but I feel like I knew you before. I had a, what's it called? What's the thing where you think you have a relationship with somebody online? Parasocial. I had a parasocial thing with you earlier. So thanks for having me as always.
Deck, that's the highest compliment. And truly, so many people that listen are like, yeah, I kind of feel like I know you because I hear the show all the time and you're in my head. And I'm like, I get it, man. I feel that way about the podcasts that I listen to and love and everything.
But even you were doing it ahead of so many others as well, like a very specific type of thing that there's so much of it now. But it was I would just it would be the highlight of my week where I could just listen to a really good long form interview with somebody when I was drawing and just get a feeling of what was happening. So it's cool to be among your people.
Well, you're warming my heart, and also I'll let people know because I've been putting them out the last 2 weeks. But I'm finally wised up and found a way, because I'm doing a million things as well, Deck. I found a way to make YouTube shorts of my interviews because I know people like sometimes just a nice little minute of something fun. So everybody watching and listening, if you go to Word Balloon's YouTube channel or on Facebook or Instagram, I'm playing with TikTok, although I really feel like an old man being on TikTok. You don't see me. You see the art. And you hear the creator or you see the creator talking about whatever they're talking about. And not only comics, but Star Trek and other TV and movies as well. If I've had the opportunity to interview somebody, you're going to find a YouTube short. And thankfully, they seem to be working and people are checking them out.
I don't know if I wouldn't expect you to know this at all. I haven't done it in a month or so, but I do these little kind of YouTube interviews. I'm calling it Tape Deck, where I'll talk with somebody who I've worked with before. So I did one with a big 2-hour one with Jeff Parker, Danny Earls. So I'll just basically, because you find often you work with somebody, but you don't really talk about the work. You talk about your life with each other, but you don't really talk about
100%.
The art that you made. But sorry, I wasn't trying to plug it necessarily, just to say that.
No, I'm glad you did. Beck, what are you talking about? I'm so glad you mentioned it. Of course, mention your podcast. Good Lord. Man.
Oh, sure. Well, if you find me on YouTube, you'll see there I've got 7 at this stage, but with different disciplines, But I did have a guy reach out about helping me edit it, which has been a huge help. But he did suggest doing those YouTube shorts or on Instagram and things like that, where he'll just take a little snippet of the interview and do the words over it. They help. It really did help get eyeballs, because people will and if it happened to me with a podcast where I saw enough clips of it, I was like, oh, I'll give it a watch. It took me a while, but it did. So I think that stuff does work. So I'm glad you're experimenting with it.
Well, and you're doing the same with Tape Deck then, or that you're
They're really. I haven't done. I've just been too busy the last month, but I'm going to do one soon. But I'm trying to even. I've done one with Mooney.
That's great.
That one wasn't as confrontational as you thought it would have been. I just find it good because I love craft stuff, and again, people don't talk about the work that they've made that much. So I try to do one every month. So I'm doing now, but just go to my YouTube; it's on there.
Kerry Kwan, thank you, Kerry. I hope you check out Deck's shorts as well. But he says the shorts have been great. I thank you for that. And truly, well, Deck, I'll tell you what. We'll talk off the air for a second as we wrap up. And I don't know if your producer is doing this or you're making them yourselves, but I have found a shortcut that I absolutely love and might help you with yours. So we'll talk.
I have somebody else do it just because.
Okay, good.
I just can't do anymore.
No, I understand. Good Lord, no, man, 100%. Really, Deck, I'm thrilled that October and the end of this month is going to be so big for you. So, am I right? Time After Time, latest arc next week, this Wednesday.
The final one, I'm pretty sure. I have it here somewhere. Scroll down. Sorry, look at my newsletter I'm putting together.
Sure.
Yeah. So on Wednesday is Phases of the Moon Knight 2, Thundercats issue 8, Time Before Time Volume 6, which I drew a part of. Star Trek Defiant cover. I've been drawing Star Trek Defiant covers for a while too.
Hey, that's awesome, man! Excellent.
Yeah. I got to draw O'Brien, so I was happy. Old Dog Operations, all out on September 25th, and then October 9th is Terminator issue 1, and October 16th is Mystique issue 1.
Excellent.
And the hardcover of the first volume of Thundercats 2.
Beautiful. And Old Dog, I know. Sorry, and then Old Dog Operations.
Yes, that's this week too.
Beautiful, man. You're killing it, Deck. I'm sorry. I don't want you to drop dead or anything.
No, I just need to make it. I just need to make it to the end of the year. The Mystique will be done, and then I'll go comatose until January 1st to just arise.
Well, now I'm going to pour over your Defiant covers and then enjoy your Star Trek Defiant.
Yeah, look them up,
covers.
man. I'm actually, because Star Trek covers, they don't set the world on fire, but I like doing them. So there's a spy arc for this new run of Defiant. So I basically did spy-esque covers. So I take a look. I did one on Setlik 3 with the Cardassian. I'm purely just entertaining myself, but yeah, should take a look.
That's great, man. Hey, as I keep telling people that love Star Trek, Cantwell on Defiant and Lansing and Kelly on the big Star Trek book at IDW, and even things like Mark Guggenheim did a great miniseries that's with the original cast in the first motion picture era. That was really great. No, IDW is really doing it right with Star Trek, and they're amazing. They're fantastic stories. So, well, thank you, Deck, as always. Stick around because I'll if your guy's not using it, I want to pass along that tip, and you can pass it along to your guy. But thanks everybody for watching. It's going to be an interesting week. You've been seeing the Alex Ross Kingdom Come documentary commercials. I'm going to talk to Sal Abenati, the producer of Kingdom Come. That's happening this week. God, I'm trying to think of who else. I can't think right now. My mind is mush as well. But it's going to be a good Word Balloon Live week. I'm happy to start the week off with Deck and more great stuff coming. So until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.